Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new, exciting Sunday edition of Jake's Hot Takes. I'm your host, as usual, Jake McVey, and today I got two very special guests with me. I got the Mobray twins in front of me, Maxwell and Austin Mobray. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Jake, for having us, and yeah, I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, first off, thank you for having us on this interview and ready to get started.
Of course, but really the pleasure is all mine because we have two of Washingtonville's most exciting soccer prodigies coming on the show here. Tell me a little bit about what you guys have in planned for the future. You know, brag about yourselves a little bit.
Okay, so I'll be attending Boston University. I'll be playing there soccer as well. And yeah, no, I'm super excited. I think that, looking at a college standpoint, it's a really good soccer school. And I think that in terms of for what I want to do in the future, obviously playing professional, they have all the resources there for me to be successful. And, I had a really good senior year here, also playing for the school. I think we were very successful in that standpoint. And, yeah, I'm super excited to get started with BU. I actually leave in a week. So, yeah, we get straight to work from there.
Yeah, I got you just in time.
Exactly.
And, yeah, I'll be right across the river attending Harvard University, which is also D1. So, yeah, it's going to be we have an exciting few weeks ahead of us as we get into preseason. Even September 30th, we'll be versing each other, which is going to be, a great game.
That'll be a showdown, yeah.
If you guys are, available, definitely come to that game. But, yeah, Harvard University, and then also in the future, I do want to go pro as well. So
yeah. And, I mean, you guys are right along the way to doing that. But before we get too much into your future collegiate career, let's take a step back, all right? I want to talk about kind of the ethos, the beginning of your guys' careers as soccer players. How old were you guys when you first started playing soccer?
Yeah, so we were both 3 years old when we started playing. So we've been playing soccer for around 13, 14 years now, and it's been definitely a crazy journey. But no, we started pretty young, and then we've developed ever since then. We've tried a couple sports. We tried baseball, basketball, but it was always going to be soccer since we were younger.
Yeah, it started right here in Washingtonville, New York. That's where it started at the soccer club. And then from there on, we obviously went to, Tow Bar, which is now Nirvana. And then from there on, we went to other academies. But, it all started here at 3 years old.
What was it about? I know 3 years old is kind of a hard time to remember, but do you happen to remember what it was about soccer that really had you drawn into the sport in the first place?
Yeah, we come from a very soccer passionate family. My mom's side of the family, all of them play soccer, and I think that's what really drew us into playing it. Seeing our cousins playing it, my family's side playing it. Obviously we wanted to be a part of that, and so I think that's the main reason why we started to play soccer.
Yeah, it was like in our blood, and ever since we were younger playing the sport, we were kind of just naturally gifted, had that gift to play, and we enjoyed it ever since we were young. So.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. And I mean, family is the best way to get yourself involved in anything. That's how most kids get their start playing sports, is that push from the parents.
Yeah.
Going back to your time really early as soccer, was soccer something that you guys found that you were naturally really good at, or did you often find yourself needing to kind of take those further steps to get to the point where you guys are? Because there's no question you guys are good at what you do. Did that come naturally to you?
I'd say for me at least, I think it came naturally. Max and I, we were about 4 or 5 years old when we started to get pushed up to play with the older kids. And I think from that age, they don't really expect you to be that good. And I think for that reason, yeah, it came naturally for us. And, we always loved the sport since we were younger. So
yeah, just like Austin said, at the age of 4 to 5, we were already playing with 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. So I think it came pretty naturally. But then on top of that, obviously, putting in the work helped. So
yeah. And it's only natural that, as you guys are playing up into those older ranges, you start to come up against some hurdles. What were some of the biggest hurdles for you guys as developing soccer players?
So definitely I think the age gap, physically, when you get older, you have to maintain the physical aspect of the game. I think that for me, I was always a little bit smaller when I was younger, so coming against older kids and more skillful players, it was definitely hard to obtain that, but over time it got easier.
Yeah, I would say that obviously us being, very young, just like Austin said, size gap, physical gap, that played the biggest part into it. And then obviously we went back down to our own age group, and then from there on, things got much easier.
Right, and what was kind of the attitude of these guys that you were playing with? Especially when it comes to kids, they don't necessarily like to see the younger kids getting pulled up. Did you guys have a lot of conflicts in that sense?
Yeah, no, like you said, the older kids never wanted to see a young kid, go up and succeed. So I think in that aspect, he was always challenging us at the hardest level, and it was fun though. It was a good challenge, I would say. I enjoyed playing with the older kids, but at the same time, they always gave us a hard time. So definitely in that aspect, it was pretty challenging.
Naturally.
Yeah, I think the easiest thing about it though was our soccer team, which was before called the Golden Lions. We were really a family. We knew the kids outside, even though they were older. We knew them. We had close relationships with them, so that's what made it much easier. And so, obviously on our team, they didn't give us too much of a hard time, but obviously the other kids that we were versing would.
Yeah. But we learned a lot of good experiences from it. I think, even those guys that we played with that are older, they're going to be our lifelong friends, so,
Yeah, I mean, you have those beefs as kids, and then as you get a little older, you realize, oh man, there's no need for all of that.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you guys a bit about, still in your early time as soccer players, who was your biggest impact or your biggest influence in terms of like coaching? Who would you say it could be? Whether your parents coached you a lot, whether it was a team or whether it was a team coach. Who was your biggest coaching influence?
Yeah, for me, I had a lot of different coaches throughout my soccer journey. A lot of different coaches that are pretty experienced with the sport. But I'd say for me, it was my dad. He coached us at the youth level a little bit, and he didn't really teach me a lot about soccer, but he taught me a lot about the mental aspects and kind of how to be mentally tough and, never to give up and stuff like that. So definitely my dad inspired me. He also played Division I at Lafayette for football, so seeing him grow up in those experiences also helped me along the way.
Yeah, I think there's two sides to it. Obviously, like Austin said, the mental side obviously all came from my dad. He pushed us, made sure that we're always, putting our best foot forward. And then I would say the physical side, I would give most of that credit to Elmer Lazo. He was a really big impact on us, growing up playing soccer. He was our coach for several years. He's the one who taught us the technical ability, physical ability, and how to play with the older boys. And obviously, he's the one who gave us the shot to play as younger kids. So that's what helped us to strive for bigger things.
Now, I want to go back to what you just said about your dad, how he helped instill that mental toughness. What did that look like for you guys, in having that mental toughness instilled? Because I don't know a lot of 5-6-year-olds that have a lot of mental toughness.
Yeah.
So what steps were taken to make sure that you guys had that fortitude to play the game?
No, definitely. He would come to the games, obviously we'd make mistakes, but he was always holding us accountable for what we did. Teaching us at that age is important because at the older stages, there's going to be no one holding you accountable. And I think, playing with the older kids as well, my dad always taught us that it's okay to make mistakes, but you have to work hard, So
Exactly, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, to be quite honest here, as young kids, we didn't really want to play with the older guys.
We didn't.
We were scared. I have a vivid memory. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we're looking at the field. There's the older group. They're all training, and Austin's like going to my dad. He's crying a little bit. He doesn't want to play with the older boys, but my dad kind of pushed us. He said that everything's gonna be all right, and he's the one who made us push for bigger things, and he's the main reason why we even started playing with the older guys. So,
right, yeah. So, based on that story, I can direct this question at you, Austin, but Max, if you want to jump in after him, what were some of the things that you personally did to kind of overcome that fear of playing with the older guys?
Yeah. Honestly, at that age, there's not much you could do because, you're just so small, and for me, as my dad forced me to that environment because I knew I was going to have to play with them regardless, but when it came to playing with them, it was kind of just being myself. I didn't have to change to be anyone else, kind of just play the game that I know. And it worked, I just did what I had to do. The coaches liked me, and it ended up going really well for me. So,
yeah, I mean, for me, I always was a little bit bigger, so that helped in a sense, for sure. So I wasn't too scared, but obviously there was some fear. And I think that what helped the most was just being with my friends, because at the end of the day, everyone's still pretty young. And we just wanted to go out there and have a fun time. So that's kind of what I focused on.
Right, yeah, no, and fun has always been, so crucial to that part of the game, especially when you're a little kid.
Yeah.
Like, I can speak to my own personal experience. I played football for about as long as you guys have been playing soccer for. Not anymore, but, when I was younger, it stunk, and part of it was, just the heat, the pads, everything, but as soon as the game became fun for me, that's when, it all started clicking, it all falls into place. How do you guys like to have fun while training?
Honestly, it's more the people around you that make it fun. But, coaches always have these fun drills, that make it fun. But I find fun in training when I'm doing well. If I'm not doing well, I'm not having a good time in training. But usually when I'm doing well and my friends are doing well and we're all having a good time, I think that's probably the most fun.
I think for me, it comes in competitive games, small competitive fun games with your friends, You'll have like groups of 3, groups of 4, and then just you'll battle it out. And obviously, in the game, it's gonna get competitive, but at the end, it's just it's all laughs. It's all camaraderie,
of course,
so
yeah.
That's where I find fun in the game, honestly.
Yeah, so you guys definitely, I can just tell by the way I'm talking to you guys right now, you definitely enjoy that level of
100%.
competition.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure that practicing with someone like you guys have had for pretty much your entire careers, like I'm sure that gets fierce, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a story, if you don't mind. Tell me a story of when things got really fierce between you two, because you guys are siblings. I know how this stuff works, especially siblings who are athletes. They are always getting into those fierce competitions.
Yeah. One vivid one that I remember is during COVID. We mentioned Elmer Lazo. He had two sons. And we would do these competitive games like we were talking about, but one of the competitive games is a 2v2. So I'd be with one of his sons, and then Max would be with the other. And I remember it would get so intense between the other brothers, and it would get so intense between us that we would just start fighting mid-game. And the coach wouldn't do anything about it because he's like, this is what it's all about. Yeah. But Max and I would start tugging each other's shirts, ripping things. And that's one vivid memory I have because we'd get so intense. But, after it was all fun and games. But in the moment, I remember I just wanted to beat him up. So
yeah.
I think that's for sure the most fierce moment that we've had between each other.
Yeah, man. That's iron sharpens iron, though.
Yeah.
It's making you guys better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now let's get into your modern careers. Were you guys team captains at any point in time during your soccer careers?
I was never a team captain at any of the youth levels coming up, but I always acted as leader, so.
No, I mean, the good thing about soccer, both of us were not team captains, but, the great thing about soccer is that, I view it as like everyone on the field's a leader. Mm. That's how the team will get success, is just everyone being a leader.
Absolutely. And what impact do you guys think you had in terms of player leadership? Because, of course, not being a captain doesn't mean that you don't take that leadership role. So tell me a little bit about how you guys had a good influence or had a good leadership role on your team.
Yeah, I think being a good team leader in general is understanding your teammates. And I feel like for me, the most thing was, I think a lot of times when your teammate does a mistake or he goes down, a lot of people just want to get on the person. But I think, it's helping them build themselves up, letting them go to the next play and be more successful. So I think for me, just understanding, having a good relationship with all my teammates is the best leadership you can have, because they'll always come to trust you, even in the games, outside the games, and just being a good person to them. So that's how I led as a person towards my teammates.
And I think for me, a good story I can tell is just where Austin and I have kind of like eased up a team, because, obviously in these high competitive environments, everything can be very tense and stiff, and that makes it hard to perform at the highest level. And so a good story I have to tell about that is, just about 2 years ago, Austin and I were playing with an older age group at TSF Academy, and then when we went down to our own age group, everything was very tense. They were very serious, which was good. But Austin and I helped ease up the team, became more of a family, more than just players on the field. And I think that's a really big part when it comes to sports is family first. Obviously, you're gonna be with those guys 5 days a week, and just being with them, liking who you're playing with, that helps the most, obviously. So
yeah. And you mentioned that in those high-intensity situations, it's very important to stay grounded. How do you guys find yourselves personally staying grounded? And Maxwell, I want you to answer this one first this time around.
Yeah, obviously staying grounded. I would say, staying true to who I am in the sport. Obviously, I have a goal that I set for myself, and I think visualizing where I want to be, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, playing college or either pro. That's what will help me stay grounded now. Now getting prepared for college in a few weeks, can seem far along, but, I focus on each day at a time, getting better, that 1% better that you'll always hear. That's what helps me stay grounded in the sport.
Just recognizing that every moment is just like a stepping stone in your greater journey. Wow, that's interesting. What about you, Austin?
Very similar to Matt. I think setting goals, and I love the motivation aspect of things. I love seeing people who are doing their work, and I want to strive to be a better person every single day. So yeah, it's pretty similar like Max. Just setting goals for myself every single day. For me, I'm going to a really competitive soccer school, and the guys are going to be so talented there. And I think just every single day working, hoping to be better, and hopefully one day get to the top is kind of how I stay grounded.
All right. I like that. Now, we are going to be going to break here in just about 30 seconds. But before we do, give me real quick, what is your favorite pregame meal? What keeps you fueled?
I think just pasta. Pasta's it's the best thing to have before pregame, but I will say he does have a really good chicken sandwich that he made up. It's probably one of the best things I've ever had.
It's either going to be that chicken cutlet sandwich, and he'll laugh when I say this, but I like a good grilled chicken sandwich.
Okay, all right. No, that's not a bad answer. That's not a bad answer. All right, we're going to be back with the Mobray twins right after this break, only on Jake's Hot Takes on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all-wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutospa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutospa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
The Roma Deli, 237 Myers Corners Road, Wappingers Falls, is your neighborhood family-owned and operated deli, offering breakfast, lunch, and catering options. The Roma Deli has brought a little piece of the Bronx to Wappingers, including fresh-made sandwiches, Italian specialties, and desserts, all prepared and cooked in-house with authentic Italian ingredients. Their large menu provides lots of options to personalize your order to your taste. Vegan and vegetarian options available. The Roma Deli, offering catering that is perfect for any party or business function. Go to romadeli1.com or call 845-297-1200.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, what makes my oven smell so bad when I self-clean?
Self-clean, my favorite weapon in the world. Self-cleaning is a brutal environment. Most people don't think about it. They hear self-clean. I'm not really sure if they're picturing scrubbing bubbles inside there, but what's really happening is we're heating the oven up hot enough to carbonize protein. We're going to take the food stuff that's left in your stove, and we're actually going to carbonize it. We're going to turn it to dust. So we're at 700 degrees. So why does it smell bad? You're setting fire to a chicken. Today, a lot of the new stoves, because of the energy guidelines, there is no real self-clean anymore. They don't want those high temperatures. It's a huge waste of energy. It's very easy. You don't have to get on your hands and knees and your back doesn't hurt. You're not scrubbing a stove, but we use a ton of energy to clean the inside of that stove by heating it up.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
Welcome back. It's Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. I'm sitting across from the Mobray twins. Wow. Lost my words there for a second. And we have just kind of gone through these guys' careers as athletes. And now we're going to be getting into their future careers as athletes. So let's start with Maxwell this time. Max, tell me about the recruiting process for Harvard.
I would say my recruiting process started pretty early. June 15th is the date that coaches can start reaching out to you. And at first, I wasn't getting too many bites from coaches, but I didn't let that stop me. So I came into the next season, very strong, working through that whole summer. And then very quickly, we started to get, very many visits. We started with, schools like Columbia and then other schools that were very interested. And I kind of used that as leverage So for anyone listening, if you have kids or you're going through the recruiting process right now for yourself, I would say that the most important thing you can do is use your offers as leverage to gain other schools. And so through my recruiting process, I would say this was about December, and I made the decision that, I wanted to go to Yale University, which is pretty tough to say now, obviously going to Harvard.
Yeah, a bit of a rivalry
and,
there.
Last second, I got the call from Harvard. I went on my visit, and I absolutely loved the campus. I remember, walking down the Charles River with the kid I was staying with at the time, and I just kind of visualized myself there, and I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. And then a week later, I committed to the school, and I'm very happy with where I am now.
Nice, yeah. Austin?
So pretty similar, yeah. My recruiting process, I think, was a little bit different than his. Obviously, like he said, you start at the end of your sophomore year, and right there it gets super packed. So that sophomore year summer, it's going to ID camps, visiting campuses, kind of getting a grasp of what you want. And my dad always asked me the question before I even went to college, like, what type of environment do I want to be in? And for me, I always wanted to go to a top school, the Syracuses, the Villanova, schools that are super competitive. And for me, like we said, we went on a lot of visits together, UPenn, Columbia, and, I wasn't really the guy to go to those top academic schools, like the super smart ones. But for me, I'd say it started the beginning of my junior year where things really started to get serious for me. I was talking to a lot of schools, and it was a crazy journey because, you meet so many different coaches and you play with so many different players. Every coach has different expectations. So for me, I struggled a little bit with meeting every coach's expectations, and for me, that led a little bit off the coaches, So, but it's all about the tournaments, and we went to this one tournament in California, and I performed really well in front of 70-plus coaches, And I didn't know, but the school I ended up committing to, the coach wasn't even at that game. And it wasn't until after, he gave me a call at BU, and I was like, okay, I'll take a visit down there. And I took a visit. I absolutely loved it my first time being there. But this was about April of my junior year, and I was still talking to a lot of other schools. And it didn't come until around the summer of my junior year where I was like, yeah, BU's where I want to officially go. But, I need to go to one more ID camp before I fully committed. So I went to the ID camp, played really well in front of all the coaches, and he offered me a spot. And I couldn't say no. The coaching staff there and the players there and the environment, it was all what I wanted to be. So I ended up committing there, and I'm super happy with my decision. I wouldn't go back and change anything I did in my recruiting process.
Now, for both of you guys, were your individual schools a top option for you at first? And were these individual schools even something that you were anticipating being a possibility, Yeah.
So for me, I was talking to, I think, Syracuse, Villanova, and a couple other schools. And BU wasn't really a thought then, but it wasn't until, I learned that those schools are so competitive, there might be a risk of not playing for a couple of years because of how good the kids are there. That, when BU opened up to me, I was like, this is a spot where I think I can develop as a player. And it didn't hit me at first, but when I started to look at other schools like that, I think BU was totally the right option for me. So.
And for me, I always set the goal for myself to, I wanted to go to an Ivy League school. So that was the main thing that I was going into the recruiting process like. And funny story, I reached out to Harvard. They were one of the first schools that I reached out to. I think I had like a couple of spelling errors or something like that in my email. They never got back to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they never got back to me at first really early in my junior year. So, I'm talking to these other schools, and I picked out Yale, like I said before. That was probably my main option, Yale, UPenn, or Columbia, because I didn't even think that Harvard was an option. And then, just like I said, Harvard reached out to me last second in my recruiting process. They had seen me before in one of the tournaments, and then, that's where I ended up wanting to go. So.
Wow, yeah. No, that's great, guys. So how have you guys been liking the sort of college environment so far? You told me before the show that you guys had actually visited your campuses a couple times. How are you feeling about that college environment? Are you nervous?
I wouldn't say I'm nervous. Obviously, I think, us being athletes, it makes it way easier because we're coming into college with, a pre-built-in family with the boys. And so I went up in April to visit my team and the kids that are in my incoming class. I love the guys. I think we all get together very well. We have a pretty big class. I think I have about 8-9 guys on my class. So, lots of guys to just be with on the pitch and off the pitch. And so we're ready, have group chat and stuff like that where we talk to each other. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm nervous about the college experience just because I have those guys with me to kind of go through it with me.
Yeah, I'd say for me, I'm not nervous either, but I feel like I'll talk more about like the school environment stuff. It's kind of you transitioning from your teenage into adulthood now, and I feel like there's no one holding you accountable. You have to be on time to your classes, and there's so much stuff that you have to manage and, balance. I think that's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about, but I feel like, once I get used to the stuff, and I'll be fine. So, but no, I'm really excited to go, and I think that I'll have a really good time. He'll be 15 minutes away from me too, so I think, we'll share each other's different experiences, and yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, I can speak from personal experience, guys. Do not skip, not even one class. It is such a slippery slope. You're going to have that 8 a.m. and your alarm is going to go off one day. You're going to say, man, I don't want to do this. Just get up and do it, man. It is such a slippery slope.
Definitely.
Okay.
And it's not something you can mess around with. So what are you guys hoping to accomplish during your time at your respective schools?
Yeah, so for me, I obviously, like I said before, I want to go pro, but I think BU offers me such a academic rigor that I can get a good job out of college. So, for me, it's all about also making connections. I think, my school's population is around 40,000 people, and we have so many international students, so many people out of state, that I'm hoping to build so many connections with different people and learn so many things that I can take outside of college. And I think BU offers me that. I think if I want to go pro, I can go pro, and if I want to get a really good job, I think that's what BU offers. So, yeah, I hope to accomplish a lot of different things. So.
And out of my college experience, obviously for me, I just, I want to grow into the person that, a great person I'm going to become in the future. And then, the two options that, I'm really focused on right now out of college are, one, going pro. That's always been a goal for mine. And I think that Harvard sets me up for that really well. And then the second option, I'm an econ major, so, I want to go into either, investment banking or consulting. I think those are the two biggest goals that I have for me, for the next 10 years. If you were to ask, where I see myself, I would see myself in one of those scenarios.
Okay. And Austin, what are you studying?
I'm studying communications. So right now I'm undeclared, but I don't have to declare until my junior year. So I have a little bit of time until I declare my major, but right now I'm sticking to communications.
Yeah, there's no problem. I went into college as a communications major, so there's no shame in it. No shame in it. It is definitely a real major.
Yeah, 100%.
So that is great, guys. I wish you all the best of luck in your respective college experiences. Let's get back to soccer, the core of it. I noticed you called it football earlier. Should I have been calling it football this whole time?
Yeah, well, I feel like it depends at, what point. Because for me, growing up, I also called it soccer. But it wasn't to the point where you train with so many different kids internationally, they all call it football.
Yeah, they all.
So,
yeah.
I mean, you call it football around a local, they'll probably think you're talking about American football. Mm-hmm. But, football and as a whole, it's usually soccer, So, I mean, yeah, I call it football. I haven't called it soccer in a while, but,
I'll call it football going forward. I'll call it football. So, speaking about yourselves personally as players, what football skill do you think you are the best at?
I'd say for me, it's my aggression. I think that's one thing that set me, apart from all the other players that play my position. It's my aggression, my ability to read the game before it happens. That's the main thing why I would say coaches wanted me as a center back.
Definitely for me, it's my technical ability. So we kind of blend well because he's very aggressive. I'm very technical. So when we go against each other, it's my ability versus his, and you get the best out of the both of us. So yeah, I'm very technical. I'm also very fast, which is good to always have at my position. And yeah, I'm pretty aggressive as well. So.
Right. And what kind of lessons has football taught you throughout your time playing that you think you can apply in life outside of athletics?
Yeah, for me, it sounds simple, but it's honestly never give up. I got released out of one of the academies when I was about 13, 12 years old. And for me, when I got released at first, it was one of the best teams, Red Bulls, at the time. And I got released, and I was pretty sad at first. I thought my academy journey was done. It wasn't until I committed to another academy then, and I started to grow even more as a person. And then, yeah, fast forward, I'm Division I now. So I feel like, life can change so fast, but you have to stay true in the moment. And for me, yeah, it was just never give up.
Yeah, and for me, I would say don't let anything stop you. When you set a goal, try your best to achieve it. And, a story I can tell about that is, I was very young. I think I was 7 years old. I was diagnosed with Kawasaki disease. I remember sitting on the bed in the hospital, and, the doctors are talking to my parents, and they're saying I might never play soccer again. And even as a young kid, I had that goal to, want to go pro. And so, I didn't let that stop me, and I continued to push myself. And then, yeah, here I am today. I'm very proud of my brother and I think we've been through a lot together. So yeah, and then frequent injuries throughout my career. Just like Austin, the year after I was cut from New York Red Bulls. I had a really bad knee injury, but for me it was focusing on recovery and then focusing on what I wanted to do in the future, and that helped me drive me to where I want to be today.
Exemplary. You don't get to the heights that you guys have reached without that kind of drive. Exactly. So I mean, living proof that not giving up is how you get to the top. What would you guys say to a kid that is new to the sport and is kind of unsure about whether or not they want to commit to playing it? What would you say to convince them?
Yeah, I would say give it a shot. You even if you don't like it, you'll meet people, you'll make connections, and that's what it's all about. So, you're going to have a sport, you're going to find it. the sport that's right for you if you wanted to play a sport. But, the main thing that you can do is try all the sports. That's what I always tell all the kids, try the sport, and then you'll find the one that fits you best.
Yeah, for me, I feel like soccer is a sport where no matter what skill level you are, it's a sport that you can enjoy. And I know some people personally that I would say there's no rush to playing the sport. I know some people who are 12, 13 years old that just started playing soccer at that age, and they've made it pro at the age of 19, 20. So you don't have to be playing for 13 years or 7 years to get good at the sport. It's just a matter of fact how much you train and how much you do the little things that other people aren't doing.
Yeah, and that is some great advice. And kind of a follow-up question to that. What would you say to an athlete who wants to reach the level that you guys have reached, get to those heights, but is kind of in that novice, that middle stage right now, and try to go a little different than the advice that you've already given. Try and, something a little more psychological,
Yeah, I'd say you have to put yourself out there. It's less about training, but it's more about believing in yourself. And I feel like you have to know the sky's the limit. You have to try different things. You have to go out, try out for different teams, maybe go watch a pro game and study it. I feel like there's so many different ways you can take soccer that a lot of people don't understand. It's actually pretty difficult, but if you create your own pathway and you do something that other people aren't doing, you take the individual step, I feel like that's where the opening is to make it even farther.
And then for me, I would say, looking at both Austin and I's career, one of the most important things and important themes that, kept coming up was discipline. Obviously, you're in middle school, you're in high school. If you're a novice and you want to make it to that level, there's going to be late nights that you're going to have to skip out. There's going to be hangouts with your friends that you just won't be able to go to. And there's going to be things that you're going to have to miss. But, if that's your goal that you're setting for yourself and you want to get to that level, you have to stay disciplined to what you want, and then you have to, continue pushing yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's phenomenal, guys. All right. I appreciate you guys coming out here and talking to me, but unfortunately, this does conclude our interview, coming to the end of the segment here. Before we go, do you guys just want to, if you guys want to promote an Instagram, I give everybody an opportunity to promote their Instagram. You can if you want to. You don't have to. If not, I'll just throw mine out there.
My Instagram's Austin Mobray, but I want to say thanks to Jake for having us. I think this is great, not only for him, but for us also to share our experiences and our journeys to making it to where we are today. So.
Yeah, thank you for giving us this, opportunity. My Instagram is Maxwell, but with one as the last L.
Okay, I like that. All right.
I love it different.
All right. Well, fellas, it has been great talking to you guys. I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors. And, thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much.
All right. For Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5. Stick around. I got some NBA and some NFL news to talk about. We'll be right back after this.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutoSpa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutoSpa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
The Roma Deli, 237 Myers Corners Road, Wappingers Falls, is your neighborhood family-owned and operated deli, offering breakfast, lunch, and catering options. The Roma Deli has brought a little piece of the Bronx to Wappingers, including fresh-made sandwiches, Italian specialties, and desserts, all prepared and cooked in-house with authentic Italian ingredients. Their large menu provides lots of options to personalize your order to your taste. Vegan and vegetarian options available. The Roma Deli, offering catering that is perfect for any party or business function. Go to romadeli1.com or call 845-297-1200.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, what makes my oven smell so bad when I self-clean?
Self-clean, my favorite weapon in the world. Self-cleaning is a brutal environment. Most people don't think about it. They hear self-clean. I'm not really sure if they're picturing scrubbing bubbles inside there, but what's really happening is we're heating the oven up hot enough to carbonize protein. We're going to take the food stuff that's left in your stove, and we're actually going to carbonize it. We're going to turn it to dust. So we're at 700 degrees. So why does it smell bad? You're setting fire to a chicken. Today, a lot of the new stoves, because of the energy guidelines, there is no real self-clean anymore. They don't want those high temperatures. It's a huge waste of energy. It's very easy. You don't have to get on your hands and knees and your back doesn't hurt. You're not scrubbing the stove, but we use a ton of energy to clean the inside of that stove by heating it up.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
Welcome back to Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. And of course, thank you to the Mobray twins for taking the time out of their day to come and talk to me. And now we're moving back on to some of the nonsense going on in the NBA because, oh my goodness, the Knicks Summer League little series of games has concluded. And oh my gosh, it is bad. We went 1-5, losing games 85-94 to the Washington Wizards. Oh no! We also lost a game 88-91 against the Indiana Pacers. Oh no! We won a game against the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, 97-93. And then we lost out 81-94 against the Celtics and 84-106 against the Pistons. And there are just a couple issues kind of team-wide in the Summer League. And yes, I know that Summer League is not an indicator of whether or not this team is going to be good in the following season. Obviously, we're going to be good. But there are a couple, developmental guys who I had personally some pretty high hopes for that I was hoping to get a good showing out of in the Summer League so that I could talk about it, who have not given us a very good showing out of the Summer League. And, of course, the poster child for guys that Jake was very high on that is not performing well during the Summer League is Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek was bad, all right? Let's not play any games. Let's not dance around this. This is an inextricable fact, and it's that Tyler Kolek looked bad. When it came to his shooting, I believe he shot like a measly 17% from three. Just a really bad showing from the offensive side. He didn't look very confident in his ability to shoot the ball from a longer range. He looked okay getting down into it a little bit, and I kind of liked what I saw. But, Kolek isn't really a guy that I had envisioned taking on the role of someone who can kind of get to the basket. And obviously it's good to have that a part of your game, but Kolek was the guy who I was hoping would be able to floor general during times when Jalen Brunson wasn't, whether he was injured or whether he was tired or whether he just needed foul trouble, anything. I was hoping that Kolek would be able to come in and kind of offset that, considering that we don't have another great ball handler or really, other than Josh Hart on occasion, any really great passers. But Josh Hart isn't as creative as a passer. He kind of is just really good at throwing the ball, if that makes sense. Like a good passer kind of requires the floor vision and the confidence and the IQ to kind of make those reads and get those looks open. Brunson is pretty good on that front. Josh Hart just kind of always gets the ball to where it needs to be, but he's not necessarily great at passing through those tight windows, finding the gaps in the defense. So I don't really count Josh Hart as that primary, or in that primary ball handling floor general style role. But Kolek, that was kind of the hope. Every time he got on the court, he would have basically like 1 or 2 shots, usually 1 make, and a bunch of assists, like a whole handful of them, 6 or 7 usually. But no, we didn't see that out of Kolek. He had only 5 more assists than he did turnovers. That is completely unacceptable, all right? And again, I understand that this is a summer league situation and that, oh, Jake, you're taking this way too seriously. Guess what? This is the NBA for Tyler Kolek. He's not getting on the court, especially not with that summer league showing. So this is basically as good as whether or not Tyler Kolek is going to be good enough to play on the roster, get in the bench rotation, and right now, I don't think it's the case. I think that guys like Jordan Clarkson and Deuce McBride, I think that they should be significantly higher priority guys to get minutes than Kolek. And that's just the unfortunate truth of the situation, is that as good as, or as hopeful as I was for Kolek, I just don't think he's really going to pan out to be that guy for us. But that's okay. You can't win them all. And, of course, this is only Kolek's second year in the league, so I guess I'm talking more so from a this season perspective, because this season he's not seeing the court. Pacome Dadier was injured. He was injured for 3 of the games. I believe he was injured for the Detroit, the Boston, and the Brooklyn game. Pacome Dadier was a guy that another guy who we drafted last year who I was excited to see get on the court. He looked all right when he was out there, nothing stellar, nothing phenomenal. But yeah, he was injured, so I'm hoping that injury can go away and hopefully Dadier can show us something in season to warrant a couple minutes. But unfortunately, I think he's kind of in the same boat as Kolek. Same boat, but for a different reason, if that makes sense. Kolek it just isn't going to see the court because I don't think he's at that level in his development. Pacome Dadier, I think, is not going to see the court just because he hasn't proven a lot. But that's okay. These guys are only in their second year. They have plenty of time to develop. They have plenty of time to show, us what is up in the future. 3-point shooting was really rough. It was, I believe, like a 20-ish% team-wide. And that is definitely an issue. Like I said, Kolek did not shoot well from 3. Dadier did not shoot well from 3. McCuller did not shoot well from 3. And Huckporty did not shoot well from 3. Even though McCuller and Huckporty were also injured. And even a guy that I'm talking about here in a second, Mohamed Diawara, also did not look good from 3. He shot 2 for 13 across the whole summer league in 3-point shots. So this team I believe this team has an identity problem when it comes to the 3 ball. Nobody on the team can consistently shoot 3s. Even Brunson, who always comes up and makes the clutch play, across the game, he has never been shooting 3s consistently. This team has always done so much better when they're in the mid-range, when they're down low, and when they're, playing that kind of physical style of getting to the rim basketball. I think that's where Towns has his best showings. I think it's where Anunoby has his best showings. I think it's where Brunson has his best showings, and at least on the offensive side of the ball. And our summer league team kind of represents this. It's like a team-wide issue now where the 3 ball is just not a consistent form of scoring. And of course, teams have been kind of taking a step back from engineering their offenses around the 3-point shot. You look at a team like Boston, who obviously I think in this case needs a change of pace when it comes to their 3-point production. What with Tatum being hurt? What with Derek White potentially not being on the team moving forward? What with Jaylen Brown potentially not being on the team moving forward? But back to the Knicks, it's just that there is so much offense to be generated, and I barely see any of it around the 3-point line. So the hope is that a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who I believe is like a 33-35% 3-point shooter, he's right in that range. He's consistent. He had his worst shooting performances in Utah recently. I think last season actually was his worst statistical shooting performance. But that's what playing in Utah will do to you, man. It is not easy. I can imagine the psychological toll that Clarkson had to play with being in Utah was probably pretty high. So I'm willing to chalk that up to, it's just poor showing out of Clarkson because, he's in Utah. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Summer League. I have a lot of thoughts, but I feel like, I don't know, it's hard to talk about Summer League because on the one hand, I want to be able to see these trends and be like, yeah, this matters. Like, this matters to the greater team. Because, I do believe to an extent that a team is only as good as the sum of its parts, plus, the bonds that they hold together. The bench was something that we struggled a lot with last season, although I will say late, the bench came up big for us. So I'm just hoping that guys like Kolek, because, you look at all these really deep championship run teams, Oklahoma City Thunder, Indiana Pacers, even the Minnesota Timberwolves to an extent, they have super deep rosters. Like, they can go 9 or 10 guys deep in a game time situation, in a big playoff time situation. And as much as I liked our bench last season, I just don't think that we have the capabilities to go, even with Mitchell Robinson, I don't think we have the capabilities to go 10 deep. You know what? I'm going to do a little exercise right now. I'm going to try and name the 10 guys that I would trust to get significant minutes during like a playoff game time situation. I guess we got Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Anunoby, Towns, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, Jordan Clarkson. And that's probably where the list ends. I would say we're probably about 8 deep, but I want to be able to play the game 10 deep, I want Gershon Yabusele to be the guy that we can go to in a big moment, or, a guy that can make an impact in a big moment, I should say. He, obviously we have guys that we go to in a big moment. A guy that can make an impact in a big moment. I want Kolek to be a guy that can make an impact in a big moment. I want a guy like Dadier to make an impact. But from what I'm seeing right now, it's like I'm just not convinced. I'm just not convinced. And, like I said, part of me wants to see these issues and be like, yeah, this is a team-wide issue. This is a problem that needs to be addressed. But then, the other side of me, a little more ravenous, the other part of my brain is saying, it's just Summer League. Why are you worrying about this stuff? It's just Summer League. It's just Summer League. But, I've subscribed to the mentality that, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if this team is showing team-wide issues with shooting the 3-ball, then I think that is something that requires not only the concern and the efforts of the team and of the team staff and of the coaching staff, but I think it also needs to be addressed in the media because, look, at the end of the day, yes, is this New York media ravenous? Yes, but does it hold players accountable? Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why, I think we have as good of a roster as we do now. I think these guys are able to survive this New York media landscape because they take accountability and they not only hold themselves accountable, but they hold their teammates accountable, And people were really concerned about Towns coming into this New York media landscape, what that would do for him in terms of like his ego and his behavior and his conduct on and off the basketball court. But I honestly think that Towns was kind of a perfect fit. I mean, he's never really been anyone that has gotten himself into a lot of trouble or controversy with his team. I mean, he was, the number one guy in Minnesota until all of a sudden Anthony Edwards popped up and then he was just shafted off to the side. And, he never made a big stink about it. He never made a big complaint about it. He never made an issue out of it. And even when his name was being thrown around in trade rumors every offseason, he never complained about it to Minnesota, man. He just did what he was doing. He just did what he was doing. So, I'm glad that we have a core of guys who can take accountability and hold each other accountable. But, man, I do just wish that they would hold each other accountable when it comes to that 3-ball. It's concerning. And OG Anunoby is not going to be the guy that I trust to take 11 or 12 3-point shots in a game. That is ridiculous. I love OG Anunoby. I love what he does defensively for the team. He is not a 3-and-D guy. He is not a 3-and-D guy. You need to shoot a certain percentage of 3-point shots and make them in order to be a 3-and-D guy. Because right now what OG Anunoby is he's a great defender and he's a bit of a shot chucker. And I love him, but that's the role that he's playing on this team right now. And that's okay if you want a guy that's just constantly applying rim pressure. But at the same time, when you take all these shots and none of them are going in, it kind of feels like, what's the point? Especially when, like we saw in Game 6 of the Indiana Pacers Eastern Conference Finals series, Anunoby was crashing the rim and being aggressive and coming downhill on these guys. And there was nothing anybody could do. He put up like 30 points in an elimination game. And he was the only one on that court. You know what? I can't remember the exact stat line that Anunoby put up in that game, so I'm actually about to go online right now and take a look at this Game 6 because I need to remember I need to remember this performance. It was the only good thing in the night. Yeah, he put up 24 points on 10 of 18 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3. I mean, it just was a phenomenal performance out of Anunoby, and I wish that we could have seen more out of him instead of just kind of this weird shot-chucking situation that he was in for the entirety of the playoff run and for most of this season. Now, when we get back, I'm going to be talking about kind of some random things. I'm kind of just going to let my brain go wild, and we're going to talk about some fun stuff. So make sure you stick around right here on Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to WaynesWayCabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutoSpa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutoSpa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
The Roma Deli, 237 Myers Corners Road, Wappingers Falls, is your neighborhood family-owned and operated deli, offering breakfast, lunch, and catering options. The Roma Deli has brought a little piece of the Bronx to Wappingers, including fresh-made sandwiches, Italian specialties, and desserts, all prepared and cooked in-house with authentic Italian ingredients. Their large menu provides lots of options to personalize your order to your taste. Vegan and vegetarian options available. The Roma Deli, offering catering that is perfect for any party or business function. Go to RomaDeli1.com or call 845-297-1200.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, what makes my oven smell so bad when I self-clean?
Self-clean, my favorite weapon in the world. Self-cleaning is a brutal environment. Most people don't think about it. They hear self-clean. I'm not really sure if they're picturing scrubbing bubbles inside there, but what's really happening is we're heating the oven up hot enough to carbonize protein. We're going to take the food stuff that's left in your stove, and we're actually going to carbonize it. We're going to turn it to dust. So we're at 700 degrees. So why does it smell bad? You're setting fire to a chicken. Today, a lot of the new stoves, because of the energy guidelines, there is no real self-clean anymore. They don't want those high temperatures. It's a huge waste of energy. It's very easy. You don't have to get on your hands and knees and your back doesn't hurt. You're not scrubbing a stove, but we use a ton of energy to clean the inside of that stove by heating it up.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
Hi there, it's Jake McVey with Jake's Hot Takes, and I kind of want to just take a second to let my mind relax, all right? I'm just going to waffle about some of the interesting plot lines that I've seen developing in NFL and NBA media, so forgive me if I bounce around a little bit. The first thing that I want to talk about is training camps have started for all 32 NFL teams. Yay! Hooray! And there were just a few oddities with it. First of all, Stephon Diggs is approved to practice at training camp with the Patriots. I don't know if you guys heard, Diggs had a bit of a controversy earlier in the offseason with some potential substance use, and I was not anticipating him to be back and allowed to practice with the team. So he's back. I'm not going to elaborate on that a whole lot, but just something unexpected that I wasn't quite expecting. I guess that's why it's unexpected, right? Another unexpected wide receiver appearance was Rashee Rice, sentenced to 30 days in jail, of course, for the reckless driving incident that befell him. He is practicing with the team like normal right now. So I have no idea what's really going on in that situation. I guess the league will be opting to disclose Rashee's suspension time as the beginning of the season comes closer. But I guess it's good to see him out there. I guess it's good to see, that he's practicing. Jackson Dart threw a pick on his first throw in training camp. Not just a pick six. So Giants fans, cover your eyes. This is possibly their worst nightmare in the New York media cycle. I am sure we are going to be hearing people talk about how Jackson Dart is already a bust all over the place. And that is the thing that frustrates me. It's that here is a young quarterback who was taken significantly higher than expectations than he was projected to, over one of the top quarterback prospects in the draft, because whether or not you like Shedeur Sanders or not, I think it's kind of stupid to argue whether or not he was the second best quarterback in the draft class, which I think he was. And, he was being spoken about like that, like he was the second best prospect in the class for basically the entire offseason. And then all of a sudden, everyone just collectively decided, no, we don't really like Shedeur. Well, I don't like Shedeur as a person. I think he's kind of arrogant and he kind of annoys me, but I can't deny talent when I see it, and the guy is talented. So Jackson Dart was taken above Shedeur Sanders, almost as kind of like an insult to Shedeur. There's a lot of questions about this whole Shedeur situation, and I think part of it is that the league is, just kind of taking out this frustration with divas on Shedeur. But I'm not going to talk about Shedeur right now. You know what? I will talk about Shedeur for right now. And then I'll talk about Jackson Dart after. So I think that this draft slide with Shedeur, the biggest draft slide from projected pick spot to actual pick spot that we have ever seen in NFL history, I don't think it was collusion by the NFL teams. I don't think the Giants and the Steelers and the Browns came together and they were like, all right, we're gonna let Shedeur slide all the way to the 5th round, and then we're gonna pick him to humble him. I think in general, it was just a frustration with Shedeur and especially Deion's attitude towards the whole situation. I mean, they were treating their franchise, their team, their job as like it was like Shedeur was like, who wants me? I don't need to sell myself to you. You need to sell yourself to me so that I'll come and play for you. And I think in general, the league just got very frustrated with that kind of mentality. We've seen it in college football recently with Nico Iamaleava. I can't believe I remembered how to pronounce that guy's name. Remember all the way back back in the spring, me and Matt, we did a segment on him. and how he was cut from the Vols because he kept on demanding more guaranteed money and he was threatening to hold out. So I think this is kind of like that situation, but on the NFL scale, where teams were finally like, no, we're not going to sell ourselves to you. We're not going to convince you why you should come and play for us. I still don't think that explains the whole Dylan Gabriel thing. I mean, in the moment, in the third round, it was funny hearing that Dylan Gabriel got picked by the Browns over Shedeur Sanders, because it's like, who even is this guy? This guy was like projected to go even lower than Shedeur went, and he got picked in the third round before Shedeur. And then he ends up getting drafted to the same team as Shedeur. It was just such a baffling situation. But like I said, I think part of it is poor management on Cleveland. I don't think you needed to draft Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. But I think it was indicative of a very deep frustration with how the media was treating Shedeur and how Shedeur was treating the other teams. Because from what I heard, he bombed all of his interviews. He bombed his interview with the Giants, and that's why the Giants went for Jackson Dart. And then he bombed his interview with the Steelers, and that's why they opted to go for a decrepit Aaron Rodgers. I mean, seriously, this guy is so old. How old is this guy? I'm not going to finish the joke because Lord knows Aaron Rodgers will probably get his lawyers on me. But ultimately, you know, the Giants and the Steelers, who were the two other teams that were really in the talks for Shedeur, ended up moving on and going for someone else. And Jackson Dart kind of gets thrown in the crossfire of that because now Giants fans are expecting him to not only be better than Shedeur, they also expect him to be that franchise guy because that's what Shedeur could have potentially been for them. So to see that situation elaborated on and then seeing Jackson Dart throw his first throw at training camp and it's a pick six. Rough day, man. Rough day. Rough day, Jackson Dart. And notice how I talked all about Jackson Dart and I barely said anything about him. Like, that's the thing, is that I don't want to go and make these snap judgments about Dart because I have no idea what he's going to play like in a real NFL situation. You know, and that's not a problem. But I think people are so desperate to be the first one to be right about Jackson Dart that we're throwing around every little piece of information. Oh my gosh, Jackson Dart didn't make eye contact with Brian Daboll while he was on the sideline giving him advice. It's like, wow, he must not be a team player. Oh my gosh, Jackson Dart threw an interception in practice. He must not be the Giants' future. So the advice that I would give to everybody, pump the brakes, all right? Relax. This is not something that needs to be submitted on time, all right? This is not a homework assignment. This is not a report to your boss. You don't need to have your opinion fully figured out on Jackson Dart before he's actually ever played a snap of football on an NFL field. And that is perfectly fine. Don't get swept up into all this nonsense about how they can predict the future with Dart, because the truth is, the future is in Dart's hands right now, all right? And he has the opportunity to go and be that guy. He also has the opportunity to fail the Giants again, or to be another failure in this recent myriad of failure Giants quarterbacks. I consider Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston already failures, just because there are 4 quarterbacks on this Giants roster right now. Don't get me started on the Browns roster. There's 5 of them, including Deshaun Watson. Just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, the Bengals still haven't signed Shamar Stewart. He is now the only first-round rookie to not be signed by his team. What are you doing, Cincinnati? What are you doing? You got Trey Hendrickson on the move. He hates you guys. He doesn't want anything to do with you guys. You guys need a win right now that isn't signing T. Higgins to like triple what he's actually worth, all right? And you know what? I'm going to get a little fired up for this because I'm sick and tired of this discussion with Cincinnati. Why have I haven't seen anything to make me believe that Cincinnati is going to be a better football team than they were last year. All they did was keep the same offensive weapons that they missed the playoffs with, and now they're paying them so much more money that they can't afford anybody else. And Trey Hendrickson, who was the backbone of that defense, who led the league in defensive productive stats last season, is going to walk, and he's going to get picked up by some team like Philadelphia or Buffalo or Baltimore, or, you know, maybe even a scary team that has the cap space to accommodate him. a la the Los Angeles Rams, the Washington Commanders. Heck, I think even on the Denver Broncos, Trey Hendrickson would be a serious threat. He would turn that team into a serious threat. And the Bengals are not taking care of their superstars. They're not taking care of their rookies. It's like the only people they care about is making sure Joe Burrow is happy, making sure Jamar Chase is happy. And the Bengals have completely kneeled down in front of these guys and have put their hand up and said, here, we have whatever you need. We're going to make sure these guys are taken care of at the cost of the rest of their team. And they are going to be the first team to pick a guy in the first round and then not actually give him a contract. And the Bengals are going to continue to be a failure of an NFL franchise. I'm calling it this year. They're not even going to make the playoffs again. And we're going to have to make excuses for Joe Burrow. And we're going to have to make excuses for Jamar Chase. And it's going to be ridiculous. And I hate Cincinnati because they have guys that I like. I like Joe Burrow. I think he's cool. I think he's entertaining. I think he's a great football player. And not only are they wasting him, they're wasting him in the most brain-dead and frustrating way possible. So, excuse my impassioned rant. Just because I have watched year in and year out the Bengals fail as a franchise, fail as a team. I know they have Super Bowl appearances as opposed to a lot of franchises who don't, but for my money, the Bengals are the worst NFL franchise in NFL history. All right, for my money, they are the worst because at least the Lions have a glimmer of hope right now, At least the Texans have a glimmer of hope. Okay, the Jaguars don't really have a glimmer of hope, but they got Travis Hunter, and he's cool. So, yeah, take that. Last thing that I want to talk about is the Clippers got Bradley Beal. LA is starting to look like a retirement home, ladies and gentlemen. They also got Chris Paul. Did I dream that? Did the Clippers get Chris Paul? Clippers acquire Chris Paul? I might have dreamed that. No, that really happened. Okay, so LA's looking like a retirement home right now. They got James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal, and Chris Paul on the roster right now. Name a better starting four 6 years ago. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got on the brain for you. Thanks for sticking around and listening to me kind of waffle. I know this was a bit of a less organized format than you guys are used to. I was just kind of letting my brain go crazy today. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to have another great interview for you right here on Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports.